I got another late-ish review for you guys. This is the last one that I had meant to do for a few months back, but just never got around to. Today we're going to be talking about Street Fighter 6. Now, I tend to be a button masher when it comes to fighting games, so my opinion on the matter, I hope that for those of you who are, you very much play fighting games heavily and you're very integrated in the control scheme and the combos and just the whole gameplay formula of trying to master characters. I'm not going to give a direct opinion regarding all those features because personally I just don't play the fighting games that way. I like to play these fighting games for specifically their career/story mode. I don't really dabble in multiplayer, although for Street Fighter 6 I did play a little bit of it on stream. Usually when I purchase these games, it's just for the sake of having fun and going through the story and just enjoying something that's a little bit of a different pace compared to the normal games that I play. That being said, Street Fighter 6 is awesome. This is the best Street Fighter game since Street Fighter 4, and honestly, it's the first time I purchased a full-price Street Fighter game since Street Fighter 4, and I'm so happy with the way that this game turned out. First of all, Capcom has put so much in here, so much more than we've ever had with previous Street Fighter games. And everything that you love about the core of the game, regardless of who you are, if you're a casual fan coming into this or someone of a more hardcore personality and you like to play the competitive aspects of this game, it has you covered. There is an extensive new career mode in this game that just completely floored me with how long it is, just how much you have in terms of customization. The story it tells is, it's there just to say that there's a story going along, but hey, it actually has a beginning, middle, end. It's somewhat competent, I guess. You understand what's going on and stuff like that, but it's fun. Like this game and everything that they put into Street Fighter 6 has just been a pleasure to actually play, and I cannot recommend this game enough. Regardless of who you are, you're just looking, as something as a cool, fun fighting game. Maybe you're not really into fighting games that much and you just want to jump in here. It has you covered. And again, if you're super competitive and you want to really get into the game, there's so many modes on offer, the character roster and stuff, especially since it's still growing. They're still updating the actual character roster, regularly. There's so much in here to actually sink your teeth into, and you will never, ever find yourself bored. I played through the entire career mode of this game, and it took me around 30 hours. 30 hours of a single-player campaign experience with Street Fighter 6, which is phenomenal. It's so much more than I've ever had with any other fighting game. More than the Mortal Kombat series, more than the previous Street Fighter series, Injustice, the Tekken franchise, all that stuff. This is the most substantial career mode I have ever seen in a fighting game, and I think to immediately just start things off, the best way that I can describe this game is think Yakuza, right? The formula of Yakuza, so exploration, going around beating up bad people, and even using like certain objects in the world to your advantage. Think of it like a Yakuza game, but instead of the 3D fighting, it's 2D classic Street Fighter. And that's basically this game. They have all this ridiculous stuff in there. The story isn't that, it's not quite as mature as the Yakuza franchise, but hey, it's competent enough that you're going to know what's going on. It has a beginning, middle, and ends. And there's 30 hours worth of story content here of you actually meeting all of the Street Fighter characters, the entire roster. You're exploring, the game world, and there's multiple different hubs in this game, combined also with all the stages that you'll get to visit and kind of walk around and interact with people in. And then on top of that, as you're playing this game, it's the most ingenious form of a career mode that I've ever seen, because as you're playing this game, you're subsequently progressing through the narrative, but also learning about the characters. And for the first time ever, I can say this as a unashamed button masher when it comes to fighting games, right? I don't spend time really learning the combos. I just want to get in there. I want to play the career mode, have a good time, and just get through it in 10 hours or so. Typically, they're 8 to 10 hours, these career modes. And I can say that Street Fighter 6, its career mode and what it did with it's called World Tour in this game. For the first time ever, I was able to actually learn a good number of combos with the character and try out different fighting styles and find out which one worked best for my style of play. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal career mode, and one that I cannot praise enough. And just speaking on that alone, I feel this game is well worth the asking price, the full price. Getting 30 hours out of that career mode, and when you're done with it, you're going to want to keep playing because it's so awesome, and you have learned these characters. You have learned doing combos and playing the game actually effectively, actually usefully, which is the best thing I can say about it, because other fighting games, like the Mortal Kombat and the Injustice series, what NetherRealm does with their games is they create very cinematic story modes, and those are always fun to play through because you get a story told to you, it's cutscenes, it's mature as well, and you also get a pretty fun fighting game on top of that. But admittedly, I also button mash when it comes to those games because, yeah, you can pause and you can look at the combo list and see how to do certain moves, but in this game specifically, what they've done is all of the side missions are geared towards doing special moves or learning certain types of combos. You'll come across characters, and none of it is like stupid filler. None of it is like this wasteful approach to just sitting here saying, hey, we have side missions in our game, and now our game's taking an extra 5 or 10 hours long because you're doing side missions. The side missions in this game basically have you defeating certain characters using certain types of movesets. And by doing this, they teach you how to effectively use each combo, and you get used to it because you're doing it repeatedly throughout the different fights and stuff that you'll experience in this game. Just absolutely phenomenal. And again, I was able to play for the first time ever. I can say that as a button masher, I was able to finally get into the game and play characters and understand how to do certain combos and not just look like an idiot jumping around and trying not to get hit and stuff. You can actually see some of that in the live stream I did. I think it was my birthday celebration live stream where I played a bit of Street Fighter 6. And, I knew how to... You could see some moves that I did repeatedly, some combos that I did that I learned directly from this game's career mode. So if you're not even into fighting games, let's just say you've never played a fighting game before, this is the most effective one because you get to play through an extensive and long career mode, doing side missions and exploring, the actual stages of the world. Let me just talk about the hubs for a sec because they're so much larger than I actually expected them to be, and there's actually multiple hubs. I was worried because all we saw throughout the actual trailers and stuff was just the kind of city hub, and I was worried that they're just going to have one single hub and then you can go to the other stages and just kind of walk around with a fixed camera position. But it's not that. There's actually so much more to this world, and they have multiple hubs in this game, and they're really large. Like they're not small at all. In fact, I would say that they're even slightly larger than the size of the Yakuza hubs that you've seen in those games. And I'm making a lot of comparisons between those franchises because it just really gave me that impression. It just felt like a Yakuza game with 2D fighting instead of the 3D fighting, and obviously less blood and gore and brutality and stuff like that, but it was just a Street Fighter game in a Yakuza gameplay container, and I just absolutely adored it from beginning to end. Just on that alone, go out and buy this game. But there's so much more here to talk about. First of all, the music in this game is awesome. They got a great selection of tracks for fighting, as well as some actual licensed music as well. And it all just really brings together a great atmosphere and a great mood when you're playing the game. You're excited when you're doing these fights, and again, you'll be hearing some different songs and stuff throughout the actual gameplay time, so that's also really cool. Again, you'll be going to learn meet these different characters from the roster, and while you're meeting them, basically doing a mission or two from them will basically allow you for you to become a student, And as you become a student to these main characters, you gain their additional move set. So you can actually switch off. The first character that you meet is Luke, who's a new character for this game. And you get his move set, and he's actually the one that I stuck with throughout the entire game because I just felt like his move set for my type of play style just fit very, very well. But there are other characters that I met, all of them selectable characters in the roster of this game, and once you do that mission for them, you'll actually unlock their ability to their fighting style, and you can unlock their combos the more you kind of spend time with them. And if you really like a particular character, you can give them gifts, just going to the store and getting them some different items or items that you acquire throughout playing the story, and this earns you a higher relationship with them, which in turn gives you access to their higher abilities and combos. Wow. Again, it just allows you to kind of experiment and spend your own time. There's one criticism I have to say with this system, though, and it just kind of comes in the form of progression with this game. Because you're progressing through the story while you're actually meeting these characters, and some characters you won't meet until much later in the story, you have already spent all your time acquiring one particular character's fighting stance, right, and their particular moves. So when you meet this character, let's say 2/3 through the story, and you're like, okay, I want to try out their moves, you have to start from the very beginning again. And so I think that for a potential Street Fighter 7, or whatever Capcom wants to do after this one, is if they want to keep this same formula, they need to find a way for you to be able to have like a base level and apply this base level to every single character that you meet. That way, when you meet a character halfway through the storyline, you don't have to then, pretend like you're starting way back from the beginning. You don't have anything unlocked. You don't have their special moves unlocked. You don't know how to do their most basic combos. This is stuff that for me kind of was intimidating to try out different characters for a bit, because yes, you can switch at any time, but you have to spend time with those characters, give them stuff, just increase your relationship overall in order to unlock their much more substantial and better move sets. And when you're already used to a character beforehand, going back from the very beginning and doing it all over again with just a different person isn't really that great of a way to spend your time. So that is the one main criticism I have to say with this career mode, is that it progresses in a way, and the way that you're meeting characters is done in a certain way, so that sometimes you won't meet these certain people until much later in the storyline, but you've already spent all your time with this other character, and so you have to start over again if you want their moveset. Regardless, I have to say that what is here is an incredible first attempt. I want to talk briefly about the graphics. This is running on a brand new engine, the Resident Evil engine, brand new engine for the franchise, I will add. So I think the last one was Unreal Engine 4, if I remember correctly. The game looks incredible on PS5. However, there are some weird quirks here with the way that they designed this world. So on PS5 in particular, I will say, yes, this game is cross-gen, and it does look cross-gen, but there is some really nice detail when it comes to the characters. There's muscle deformation, and so you'll see in real time, as you're actually fighting these characters on screen, you'll see their muscles tense up, certain veins start popping and stuff like that. And again, it's all dynamic. It's happening in real time as you're playing through the game. So that type of detail is really excellent. There's a lot of great detail when it comes to the characters. The environments, though, this game takes a stylistic approach. It still retains that kind of animated style that we've seen with the previous Street Fighters. There's just more detail when it comes to the characters. They're a lot more expressive, but the environments is what I feel suffers the most. Reflections are of low quality. Especially the city district, which is the most egregious with all these issues. You'll be walking through, it's like a representation of New York City. You'll be walking through, some of the plazas, and you'll see stores, on the left and right side, and you look into the stores, and you can clearly see it's just a very low resolution 2D image of what the store is supposed to look like. They didn't even try. I think having some type of filter, or maybe depth of field filter, some type of blur filter would have went a long way here, but there are certain things throughout the world where you look at and you're just like, that looks looks really rough. You're not intended to interact with it necessarily, but being that you're playing, you're exploring this world, you're going to notice these type of things, and things in the distance look all right, but yes, certain objects could have definitely looked better. That being said, the game ran perfectly smooth for me at 60 FPS. It does have a high frame rate mode, so you can actually enable frame doubling in this game to get so you get 120 hertz output, but the game still runs at 60, but you get substantially lower input lag, which is great for the actual fighting games. But I didn't notice anything in the way of frame rate stutters, at least on PS5. It did run perfectly smooth. And yes, I do think the game could have looked better. Again, it's a cross-gen game, very clearly evident of that when you're playing the game, but there is some nice detail when it comes to the characters, and I do think that those suitably look like a next generation game, especially when they have the dynamic stuff happening with their clothes, things like little leaves or stuff like that on the ground when you're fighting get kicked up like dirt and stuff like that, and it's dynamic, so it happens when your character moves over it. And the muscle deformation and all that stuff just looks phenomenal. But yes, there are some little, quirks here when it comes to the actual graphical presentation of this game. Outside of that, I'll briefly touch upon the controls as well. Now, I mentioned that this game really does a great job of teaching you combos in its career mode, but there's also another thing that they've done with the controls here, which basically allow you to it's like a quick access almost, or like a shortcut mode, so that instead of having to do certain combos where you're substantially moving like the stick along with pushing the buttons at the same time, it kind of shortens combos into certain types of quick shortcuts in order to do those combos quickly without having to learn the full range of motion when it comes to the analog stick as well as the button presses and stuff like that. So they have different control modes. There's like a classic mode, and then there's like a new control scheme, like an updated control scheme. And what this does is basically, again, let's say a normal combo would take 5 or 6 buttons to push. In addition to you moving the analog stick a certain way, they'll shorten that to like 2 or 3 buttons while you're facing a particular direction. And the great thing about this is that you can actually choose which combos you want to do to apply to those shortcuts on your controller. I use this effectively. What's even better about this system is that you can actually mix and mash combos from different characters. So let's say your main character is Luke here, right? But you really like a combo from like Ryu or Ken. If you unlock that combo by spending some time with their character, what you can do is apply that combo to your shortcut moveset so that you can do a Hadouken, or you can, do something like a fire kick or something like that another character has in their special move set, but you can combine it with your particular other character's playstyle. So it doesn't matter if you like people like Chun-Li, again, like Ryu, Ken, or whoever are those classic characters. Maybe you like their move set, but you like the combos and the special moves from other characters. As long as you've unlocked those, you can actually apply them to your move set. This is incredible because there are certain combos that other characters could do that just did excessive damage, but I wouldn't necessarily want to play them. Like Zangief. Zangief is a tank character. He's kind of slow, but his head slam does a substantial amount of damage, and you might want to use just that special combo so that when you are fighting people, you can do excessive damage and but still have the ability to kind of move quickly and react quickly with some of the other quicker characters. You could do that in this game. You can mix and mash combos together from different characters so that you can actually create this really unique personal fighting style that only your character has. It's phenomenal. And as you're playing this game, you'll unlock different cosmetic options. You can actually change the way your character looks. Sometimes these cosmetic options will also give you certain buffs, maybe certain health boost, defense moves, shorter stun times. So this effectively is an RPG. It's weird. It's like a Street Fighter RPG, but think Yakuza, just without the brutality, the mature storyline, and it also has 2D fighting. It's just the best way I can describe this game. It's phenomenal. Yeah, I cannot recommend Street Fighter 6 enough. It is definitely going to be on one of my favorite games of the year list. Absolutely. It earned that spot immediately when I was playing it. And it wasn't hard for me to jump into it either. I went in really hoping that it would be excellent, and I came out of it loving it. And I think to date, this is probably my favorite fighting game of all time. Very close, at least, to Street Fighter 4, because the last Street Fighter game I spent a significant amount of time into was Street Fighter 4 back when that came out, and I really, really liked that game. This game feels like a complete evolution of the franchise and a complete evolution of fighting games in general. In fact, we're seeing some other games that are coming out, like I think what they're doing with Tekken 8, where you have like avatars now, and I think we're going to start seeing other fighting games trying to adopt the playstyle that this game offers, at least when it comes to its career mode. Again, 30 hours out of a single player experience with this mode. You're going to get your money's worth either way. And if you like the competitive aspect, they've added it in a way where you can actually, play with lobbies and kind of go in there and use your custom characters and earn points in a tournament fashion. It's the best Street Fighter game in years, and this might be the best Street Fighter game of all time. I think it's right up there with one of my favorite fighting games of all time, if not the number one spot in my opinion. It's phenomenal. I cannot recommend it enough. Again, this is coming from someone who is a button masher, who just I don't really spend time learning combos, but they found a way to integrate it into the single player core experience, and it's fun and it's enjoyable. And I was in shock. I was like so happy, right, to be able to finally play a fighting game somewhat effectively. That's what this game had done for me. So anyway, go out and get it if you haven't. I'm sure the game is actually much cheaper now, but it's well worth the asking price. And Capcom has yet again released another phenomenal game. I just love the track record they're on. With their recent games, they've all been solid. They've been running well. They've been polished. I can't say enough good things about Street Fighter 6. It is excellent. Go out and get it. And for those of you who have played it, let me know what you think. Especially, I'm interested for those of you who not just play it very competitively, but just play it in a casual sense. Did you also find that you were able to learn the combos quite easily, as I was? Again, playing through the career mode, it's a long road, but you're going to have a great time throughout the entire way. And when you're done with it, you would have learned very effectively how to use certain characters. And I think that's just... It's an incredible combination and an incredible job on Capcom's front. So thank you guys very much. I'll talk with you all later. Wanted to get this one out here, and I hope you guys enjoyed the review. See ya.